This is going to be the second match in the local series. I am going to be playing, once again, Kurapika on the yellow playmat. And in this round, I'm playing against a purple Demon Slayer Muzan, which is a pretty interesting matchup. So the matchup into Purple Muzan, I'm not the most familiar with how the deck plays. I know it essentially filters through the deck in order to get 20 cards in trash and play out the Muzans. The 5k damage to impact 2 Muzans. So I guess what I want to do is push up early and deal damage as fast as I possibly can. I think for Muzan's 5k body, I feel like late game that's a bit stronger than my Kurapika, so I just want to make sure that I'm able to end the game fast. I also do want to keep life a bit higher so that when they do get those damage to impact 2 Muzans on the board, I'm able to pretty much take a few hits from that Muzan and sustain myself, so that way, like, if he plays 2 units to the front, I'm not just instantly dead to those cards and relying on getting active triggers and final triggers out of life in order to kind of win the game that way. In this matchup, I think I also do want to see quite a bit of impact cards. Impact cards, I feel like they play a lot of small chump blockers that are able to draw them cards. If you have an impact that still gets a damage through, I think that's fantastic. And seeing the 2 Leorios in my hand, it's pretty good start to have. Kurapika also in this matchup isn't as valuable early until they get to their Muzan turns, because they just play a bunch of small characters, other than maybe the Raid 4K, which it's pretty useful against, or the Muzan, but usually they'll play their Muzan on the back line, move it up, and they'll get that swing through, and your Kurapika doesn't get a free block off of that. So I guess it keeps you in the game, but maybe not as impactful as some other matchups. Of course, 7-drop Kurapika is always a great card to have, and it's a great card to have. So I would never not want to see that card. First few turns for Kurapika set are pretty standard. I play a Satotes into a Kurapika, and then I play out the Netro. I do Hunter's License. Again, I do an early Hunter's License here just because I want to get as many bodies out on board as I can get. So that way I could just, apply the pressure next turn. I play here the Basho and Leorio, just to get it kind of started and get as many cards on board, so that way next turn I can just start hitting for some real damage. And I see that I have the 7-drop Kurapika in hand, the Leorio out on the board, which makes me feel pretty good about my current board state. The Leorio in the front, of course, protects it. Maybe I should have played a Basho to the front here. That's one consideration, considering that if he pushed up another body, then I would be able to block with Basho and Leorio and prevent the damage that he has on board. But playing the Basho also in the back, just to make sure my energy generation isn't messed up, is also always great. And my opponent here, I think he plays, was that 1 or 2 purges into a Muzan's Blood, into another Muzan, and he's seeing the filter cards. I think at the end of this turn, I remember asking him how many cards he has in his discard, and I think he had 9 by like turn 2 or turn 3, and then there's another Demon's Blood for Muzan. He taps another one, plays out I think it's Tioni, raids the I think it's lower 6 card, and he's just drawing a lot of cards here. Swings 45, take, and I get incredibly lucky here. I get a special trigger out of life, and I decide to KO his 45k. I'm pretty sure I was debating it because I did have the 7-drop Kurapika in hand. I could have KO'd it next turn, but decided to do that. Now here I'm just thinking, how do I push up and present the most damage I can this turn? Because I think at this point, I don't remember if he had, I think he had like 15 cards in discard by this turn, or it was some crazy amount, because I remember at the end of his third turn, his Muzan was almost live. It might have been a little bit lower, but he pilots this deck very well, and he's able to get a lot of units on the board. It's just the draw power for the deck is pretty crazy. And so here I am just kind of debating what I want to move up. I have the little Kurapika in hand, and I have the big Kurapika. So I'm just kind of thinking, what's the best way for me to play this turn that I'm able to conserve energy and get the most damage through, so that I could kind of capitalize on my 7-drop Kurapika and my Leorio in hand. Now, I think here I go for the playing my 7-drop Kurapika with the logic here that I'm going to KO his 2k, and then I'm going to be able to get 3 damage through and establish the Leorio for next turn. See, like, Kurapika kind of getting not getting the most value, and then he hits a color trigger here and gets even more draws from his outside area. So I'm just kind of like, okay, I swing with the Leorio, he blocks it with his unit, and yeah, that color trigger gave him, I think it was a draw 2 trash one when something was KO'd, and so he was able to get even more cards into his discard. And I think at the end of this turn, his Muzan is actually going to be live. I think he did earlier discard a few of the Muzans into his trash, into his outside area. So I'm pretty worried here that he's just going to be able to play a Muzan and push it up next turn and just start hitting me for Impact 2 damage 2. And that would not be fun. Now, I also do have I remember seeing in my hand I have a special trigger as well. So I know I'm not really afraid of him playing out the other raid unit again. He gets another Muzan down, and he is able to filter even more through his deck. I feel like he's, at this point, probably knows exactly what's at the bottom of his deck. I think it's pretty stacked. He gets the lower six. I'm not very familiar with the Muzan deck, so I forget most of these cards' names. He's able to raid this unit, and I remember at this point it's 45k, since he has 15 or more cards in trash, which is a great card for defense. And then he plays, I believe, is this the special, or is this another? I think this is probably his 3rd or 4th purge. He's just deciding what to get rid of here. But the purges are just get rid of 1 unit, draw 2, and then you're able to resend AP. It's just such a great card in this Muzan deck. You just get so much value off of it. I know the discarding a card, the KOing one of your own units doesn't seem like that favorable in effect, but when you get a restand in AP and essentially draw 2 and possibly draw a 3rd based on your card's effect, you just get to play out another unit that exact same turn. So you're essentially getting draw 2, and then you're replacing the unit you played. And here he gets the special trigger to KO my Kurapika, and I'm kind of feel like I'm playing Purple Gias here. There's a lot of removal. I guess you were able to draw so many cards from your deck that you're able to see a bunch of removal cards. And I think I get an active trigger, which doesn't really matter this turn. And now I know I don't really have that many options for what to do this turn from hand, so I think I just tap to draw. And I know I want to push that Leorio up so that I can get 3 damage, and then I can use the special trigger on my 0-cost Kurapika to get rid of the Emu, and then I'm able to swing with Leorio and draw 2. And that's the play I kind of want to do. So here I am filtering it out, and I do draw the Hisoka here. The Hisoka here is a really tempting card to play out because it means next turn I'll be able to get some removal, but I think it's still not as good as using my the Kurapika special trigger on my little 15k to get rid of his 45k here, because when I do this, I'm able to get rid of his 45k, and then when Leorio attacks and he isn't blocked, I'm able to draw a card. So getting rid of his 1 unit on board, leaving him with 2 energy, and being able to get 2 Leorio swings through, draw 2 cards, and I know next turn His Muzan is live, but he only has 2 energy generation in the back. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot here. I think he's just making sure that the special trigger is able to do what it is able to give him a 3k boost. So I do that, get rid of his unit. And at this point, for my opponent here, Muzan is live. He does have over 20 cards in discard at this point, which is kind of crazy. I think this is the earliest I've ever seen Muzan be live in a match. And yeah, he just pilots this deck very well, and I'm able to hit twice with Leorio, and then he gets a special trigger out of life here and decides to KO my small Kurapika, which I'm not sure was the right play here. I guess he wanted to do it to prevent me from playing a 7-drop Kurapika. I was thinking that the reason why he did that was he wanted to prevent the 7-drop Kurapika from coming down and KOing his Muzan that he wanted to play to the front line next turn. And I see all these cards and then another Purge coming out, and he's doing all these cards. And I know he's discarded, I think it was 2 of the 4-cost Muzans by this point. So I think he might be digging for the other Muzans in his deck. And here he just plays he just gets a board out there. I have 4 life here, so I'm kind of okay with my position. I just know that if he plays another Muzan's Blood, because I think he's only played 3 Muzan's Blood at this point, the final trigger card for purple. I know if he plays another one that I'm kind of, and he plays out the Muzan, then next turn would be a very dangerous turn for me. So this turn, I feel like I did make a misplay. I have a 5-cost Kurapika in hand, but I decided to play the Neon first, thinking like, let me see what I get here, and I'm able to get the 7-drop Kurapika. Now, if I played the 5, now I think my logic here was if I get an attacking body, I'm able to push through more damage. But if I were to play the 5-cost Kurapika first and then play out, have a board of 3 units here, I would be able to swing with Kurapika into the Enmu here and then get 1 damage through and then get 2 more damage through with Leorio. So I kind of do make a bit of a misplay here with the way I sequence my turn. See, this way I get 2 damage through as opposed to I could have gotten 3 damage through this turn, and I'm just kind of making a bit of a mistake here. But getting the extra 4k on board for 4k on board for next turn could be kind of helpful, but again, should have probably played the 5-cost Kurapika first and then played the Neon to see what I get. But again, that's the misplay on my part. Also, playing the Hisoka out instead of the 5-cost Kurapika is also pretty bad here. The Kurapika, I'm trying to end the game here because I know his Muzans are live, and the Kurapika just gets insta-blocked by Muzan versus at least having another impact unit on board. Like, I have the 2 Leorios, but having a third impact unit on board would be fantastic here. And he does get out his big 5k Muzan, impact 2, damage 2. So now I'm like, well, I gotta end this game as quickly as possible. And I have 4 life, so I'm not too worried. But he gets down another, I think it's lower 6. And he draw 2, charge 1. And then plays out another special to get rid of, and oh, I think he said Hisoka initially, and then he changed his mind to Kurapika, and so he gets rid of the 5k body, which makes sense, denies the free block, and so I go take this, and I go down to 3 life. Now, I am comfortable with 3 life in this situation, because I know Muzan's hitting me for damage 2, impact 2. He has 2 energy in the back line, and he doesn't have any other impact units, so he doesn't have any raid impact units in his deck. And I just kind of okay position for me. But again, the Hisoka here is not really providing me any value. I play the move up the Zapile because no matter what, my board is getting blocked except for the 2 Leorios, which I use the 1 cost, and I play the Kurapika in the back line so I can get an impact unit there. And I think I have a special, so I guess my logic here was play the Kurapika in the back line with a special. I should have game, but he gets a final trigger here, and the final trigger saves him, and then I have to pass here. I don't have enough attacks to go through, and I do forget a draw from the Leo, but my opponent here is really nice and lets me get those draws after the turn. And now I'm just staring down this board, hoping there's no surprise raid impact card in this deck, which I don't believe there was, but that card would have pretty much cooked me in the situation. Now I don't think there's a lot of I'm pretty sure all 4 final triggers are gone, so I think my opponent here just needs to rely on pretty much sealing the game here in some form. I think the only way this would work would be I think it would be like an Akaza play, but I don't think he would be able to get up to 6 energy gen, especially when I believe all 4 finals and all 4 specials and all 4 purges should be in the discard right now. I believe my opponent actually ends this game with 2 cards left in his deck, so he plays out another body, and I think he's just trying to play to keep himself in the game, and he gets another special to KO one of my Leorios. So now I think if it's pretty much if he gets another impact unit, I am cooked. And he goes with the Muzan, swings 5k, damage 2, impact 2, and I'm just kind of like making sure that nothing else has impact, making sure that I know the attack power of all the other 2 units. And at a life here, I get 2 active triggers, which is great. It prevents me from losing a body to the other 45k body that he has on board. And so this turn, just draw. I think I push. First thing I do is I use Leorio's effect, make sure he has impact 1, and I do get a 7-drop Kurapika here, which is incredibly lucky, and he just takes life here, and it is not a final trigger. And last 2 cards in deck, he had another Muzan at the bottom, which is great for me, but very unfortunate for my opponent. And yeah, overall, really great game. My opponent, I think this is probably the best piloting I've seen of the Muzan deck in a while. It's just those purges to constantly refresh and get a bunch of damage through. It was able to get Muzan live. Maybe he should have kept one of the Muzans in hand, but I'm not an expert. I don't know how to pilot the deck. And yeah, the Leorios were a fantastic card, and they put in a ton of work. And of course, I did see that one special out of life, which was pretty big for me. So yeah, I do get pretty lucky here in this game as well. And I go on to 2-0 with Green Kurapika.